You're listening to Bellwethers podcast with Matthews Joseph.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Bellwethers podcast. This is Matthews Joseph, your host. Today we have someone very special with us. His name is P K Mathew. He is the founder and managing partner of the Spokesmen Network, a network based out from India. So just before giving you an introduction about Spokesmen Network, I would like to say that P K Mathew and myself were very good friends for the last 10 years. We met together while we were in 8th grade, and we've been great friends ever since. So it's an honor and it's a true pleasure to have P K Mathew, one of my very closest friends on this show. So P K Mathew, welcome to Bellwethers podcast.
Thank you so much, Matthews. It's an honor to join you on your podcast. We go back a long, long way, and I think looking back, it's been awesome, and to see what Bellwethers is doing in the community and throughout the places that you reach out. It's amazing. So really happy to join you.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I think, one of the main reasons I started Bellwethers was you. I mean, you were an inspiration and a motivator to me as well, because you were, when I was starting this, I used to talk to him a lot, and we used to have these conversations about how to build these things up, what would be a strategy, would be a good strategy, how to place things. So we had a lot of conversations while launching Bellwethers, and I would say without P K Mathew, Bellwethers would not be here. I can definitely say that, because he was one of the most inspiring factors for me to start this. Also, while he started Spokesmen a few years back, we actually had a lot of conversation. That's where it all started, when he started an initiative that was something different than that used to come out from every other person. So we'll be talking more about that. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about Spokesmen. All right, PK, are you ready?
Yes. So first of all, I just want to thank you for your kind words. It's very I'm flattered, but it's your initiative. I'm really happy that you're doing something that's making a change. So you took the initiative. So kudos to you.
Cool. All right, that's great. So talking about Spokesmen, why you launched Spokesmen a few years back? What was your primary motivation in building Spokesmen? And what made you what was the driving factor that helped you launch it? Or more further, I would like if you could elaborate on what you guys were doing, on what the basic idea was, and talk about this. I think that will be an inspiration, and that will give people a better idea on what Spokesmen did, and what your vision and what your exact idea about the organization was.
So see, as Matthews introduced me, I'm the founder of the Spokesmen Network, which is a registered organization, which was set up to launch open to opinion digital news media platform called the Spokesmen.in. And I initially came up with this idea when I used to write to the editor of newspapers about various issues, and I wanted to point out certain issues and facts, but a lot of mainstream papers were not interested, and of course other channel news and radio, they are not at all interested to listen to viewers' concerns. So that prompted me to launch a website, but initially it was like a blog. But then I was able to redefine the whole thing, and then got like-minded people, and we sat together and we sort of thought, why not we go ahead and launch an open platform where anybody can write on facts. So it's about your opinion about a particular subject. As long as it's fact-based, you're allowed to write. And it's not just on news, politics, it's about anything, poetry, anything that you can name. So this was the crux of the idea that prompted us to launch Spokesmen then. And it wasn't easy. It had a lot of hiccups, because we were dealing with a lot of, it was a wide area compared to what other digital platforms were doing at the time, which was specific in nature. So we had a lot of hiccups initially, particularly who to ask, which team member to win, how do we find the good team member to do what. So that is what put me thinking, how do we get the best team to deliver what we want to do. So the motivation basically, in short, is the fact that I was so fed up with the present day media, and I wanted to bring some change into the present day media, which is why we launched the Spokesmen.in.
Wow, that's huge. I mean, taking a risky step like that, against media. I mean, so when you had to actually start up something on your own, and you had to call up, like you had 10 to 12 members, and getting at them all together and sharing them your vision, sharing them your idea on what you wanted to do. I mean, that's pretty huge. I mean, that was challenging. And when exactly was this? I think it was like 4 years back, right?
Yeah, it was in my second year of college, which should be in 2016.
Yeah,
2016.
right. So yeah, it all started from 2016 when he actually thought, everybody can make a difference, and that's what PK Mathew actually thought at that time. And I think that is what he still believes right now, and that's what most of us believe. Most of the entrepreneurs, visionaries, and businessmen, we all believe the same thing, that anybody can make a difference and everybody can make a difference. And so PK Mathew had this idea about starting a huge network, which was actually at scratch at that time. But he had to develop. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he had to go through a lot of challenges, right? I mean, we talked about this, and personally, we shared about this. But I think you should tell the people also as well, because the challenges that you have faced, I think that would be a great inspiration, because most people actually, when an obstacle comes, I mean, I've heard the saying that one man's obstacle is another man's opportunity. And so some people actually find it very hard to thrive against when they see an obstacle, but the others actually get over the obstacle by seeing that as an opportunity. So is there something like you had something like that, how you actually turned an obstacle in the media field to an opportunity?
So you're very right. Most businesses or most startups, see, why are we doing a startup? There are many reasons one entrepreneur can come up with. One reason, or the main reason, should always be: is there a problem, and how can we solve that problem? And that's the most widely. Your startup or your initiative can only find success if there is a problem and if you can solve the problem. So how, and that is the opportunity. So the problem that I was able so obsessed about was the fact that the media, mainstream media, was very conveniently playing into agendas and setting their own agenda, pushing a particular kind of narrative. I mean, left or right or whatever. But there wasn't something called true independent media, and that was a major focus. And we so initially the common man's voice was not heard. It was what a particular news anchor was shouting and screaming on prime time slot, to particular editorial meetings, setting a particular agenda to push a particular kind of news piece. So these were the things that I was irritated with. And I wanted to change that, because I knew a lot of people who wanted to put particular writings out and who wanted to publish something but couldn't do it anywhere. So all of this put together, we thought, why not we launch a portal for that? So it was covering your day-to-day news and etc. etc. At the same time promoting poetry, same time promoting short stories, same time promoting reviews of movies and places. And I know a lot of people who never have published anything in their lives started publishing on our platform and came up to me and said, if this wasn't there, we would never have gone out and thought about what to write and how to write. They felt good about themselves. They found that they can write, they can publish things. For example, there's a teacher. She travels a lot, but she never thought of writing, and she took up that as a passion. She published, I think, more than 20 reviews of places she went.
Wow.
In India, in Saudi. She went to London. She reviewed places there, and she used to come up and put it up on Spokesmen pictures. And it sort of gave power to people whose voice was not heard. Like, we had people come up, and there was a person who had a particular issue with respect to who faced some harassment and abuse from a particular section of the society, and that person was not heard by anybody else, but we gave a platform. And that, see, when you do these kind of things, it takes a lot of it's a risky thing to do. So basically, these are the things that we have faced a lot of obstacles. So I was just generally going in all the direction that we traveled through. So I mean, so putting it in a few words, I think we face challenges starting. For example, how do we set up a team? How do we build a brand? Because I was very clear from day one that we're going to build a brand, and at the same time, on the other side of it, we need to have a strong product as well, because we are not going to only bang on a brand. So we got together. Initially, it was just one, me, and then later on 2 people joined, and then later we eventually grew to 12. And then we had close to 1,200 full-time subscribers, and viewership around consistent viewership from 12 countries, including the US. So we started. I think within a year we were doing pretty well, and it grew beyond our expectation. So these are the challenges how we're trying to keep up with the type of content we have to put out, because every day nobody is going to open their interface and start typing. So we had to sort of fill in the gaps with our in-house articles. So we had a lot of challenges from that angle.
Wow. I mean, but I'm actually impressed by your perspective. You actually saw that there is a need for something like this to come up, and then you actually paid way for that. So you gathered up a team, and then you were persistent. I mean, you had a vision, you were persistent, and your perspective had actually made clarity to a lot of people. I mean, like the teacher who actually wrote those articles from visiting different places. I mean, who would have thought that she would do something like that? I mean, who would have thought that, it is massive. I mean, the vision that you had, and almost 12 countries viewership, including the US, that's actually something very huge. And that's a huge achievement, I must say. So moving on. So how did you deal with creative differences? I mean, you had 10 to 12 members working full time with your team. So I'm pretty sure that did ever have to deal with creative differences. When that happened, how did you deal, and how did you came to a proper conclusion?
Creative differences are always there in um, any type of group that is setting out to do something new or working towards an objective, or any form of productive work anybody is doing. There will be creative differences. So I think how we dealt was the fact that, so initially everybody was very clear, assigned roles. We assigned roles to every individual. Nobody was sitting alone and do dilly dallying. Everybody had a particular assigned role and another role addition to do when something. For example, we had in-house writers. In-house writers, as perhaps sometimes they do not have articles to write at a particular point of time because somebody else is doing. So they were given another slot to do. So when we had in creative differences, we were sure as to, okay, somebody used to suggest something, and we sat down, we brainstormed, and then somebody from the particular field would say, okay, this is what we should do. Why don't we consider that? So I think ultimately we sort of debated, discussed, and decided, okay, what is best for the organization. Now I was the editor in chief of the Spokesmen.in. So I was particular that, okay, if somebody else has a better idea, we go with that. Otherwise, if we don't have an idea, and if I feel, okay, that is very wrong, extremely wrong, and I have fact or figure or whatever to substantiate that, then I'd go with that, and they were fine with that. So we had a working environment that the team used to contribute whatever they thought, and I used to contribute, and finally we used to arrive at one decision on how to take something forward. If not, if I am wrong, they'd point out, and I'd given all my team members freedom to do that. And if I feel that, okay, I as a leader perhaps has to push this and get this thing done because of so and so reason, I went for that. So it's a mixture of so many things. So I don't think every organization has one size fits for all. It depends on the working environment, the leadership, the people who are parcel of your organization, and how they are going to take it. I mean, in every organization, you're going to see one person who is going to dominate the conversation. One person who is consistently, who may not be perhaps very active in giving productive ideas, and that person will be quiet. Another person will be overactive, shooting out all kinds of nonsense. One person will be the silent person of the whole lot, who will keep quiet and who will not speak anything, but just wants to get it done with the whole meeting and leave as soon as possible. When another person would be there just battling ideas, who will be just there to perhaps disagree with almost everything everybody is saying. I mean, it's a very taxing process, but I think eventually everybody, if the initial agenda of your of your brainstorming is the fact that what is best for your product, what is best for your organization, and what is best for the whole of the reason why you started this, then whoever, the leader, the other team member, everybody can arrive at something. If it's an ego battle, now so before starting Spokesman, I've worked in other places as in part of internship. I've seen other organizations Particularly, I've seen the stage where we were about to raise funding and we were seeing other organizations, their working pattern. There were so many issues that was particularly personal. And once you let your personal things play out, I think it'll affect the creative differences are no longer creative. It becomes personal differences. So I
Right.
think everybody should be very clear of that. This is the issue that is with the product or a decision of a particular thing. We are here to get that done, and we are not here to sort of battle out my hatred towards or my dislike towards another person. Now, I can tell you this not from the spokesman.in, but there was another non-profit that we were launching at the time. I mean, at the time I was doing three things at the time, and which was foolish of me. But we had another team setting up that of another team of six, and few people pulled up from Spokesmen used to be there to sort of guide accounts and all that, because everything was man funding, everything was going from here. So we had a huge fight, and I remember I was sitting at the head of the table, we were discussing, and this person just gets up and start shouting. And I realized later on that, okay, the person did not like me striking off a particular proposal the person had submitted probably, I think, a week ago. And the person was frustrated because of other personal issues. And it all just came out in this particular meeting where we were brainstorming and having creative differences. So it wasn't creative difference, it was personal difference. So I think everybody should keep their personal what do you call it differences aside, and then work on what is best for the product, what is best for the organization, and that will sort of, and every you will hit a roadblock. And see, every working environment is not the same. Every working environment is not heavenly or godly. Every working environment, there will be somebody who will not like the other person, but we should strive. And every now and then I tell people, when you're going to sit in a particular room and want to brainstorm, or when you have creative differences, tell everybody that, okay, listen, we are here to better the organization, to better the product. Anybody has a good idea, come up with it. Like when somebody disagrees with me, the first thing I tell them is that, good, what is the alternative? So that will propel people to sort of think. Like if somebody who's just there to shoot down a bad idea should also be able to come up with an alternative. It might be bad, whatever, but still, the person is contributing. Let's discuss this and let's get something done. So I think at the end, it should be about creative differences are going to creep up, but it should be dealt with positively, and it shouldn't be selective. It should be very very clear as to what you're setting out to do, and and that's all I have to say, because I can't. I mean, I won't be. People who are starting out, people who are leading a team or being part of a team will know it. Every working environment is very very different, and the challenges that every working environment organizes is very very different. So the best thing I would say is that speak it out if you feel that, okay, this is something that is terribly wrong, something that you should not go out. I mean, I call this the gut feeling. I mean, you should say it. I mean, I remember there was once when we were going to take a decision on the marketing aspect of this, and everybody was all happy about the decision, and I had this feeling that this is going to go wrong, and I kept quiet. I thought probably they're right, probably they're right. And I said, okay, you know what? I have this feeling, and I want you guys to hear me out. And I told them, they agreed. They said, yeah, I think that we should put that in, and we together brought out a better marketing strategy in those initial days of Spokesman. So I think that's your answer to that question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's different. I mean, because most of the organizations that we face. I mean, especially. I mean, I would say like there's there's pre-COVID and then COVID season. So before COVID, you were physical. I mean, you could see each other directly and you could talk to them. So whenever an issue comes up, you can gather together and you can fix it out. I mean, even though there might be long, heated discussions, but at the end, you can actually find out a positive way out of it. But right now, even in a post-COVID world, I mean, because everything is virtual. I mean, literally everything. Even our interview right now is virtual, and so is for most companies, because most companies don't do anything in physical. But I mean, even though right now, even though the transition is coming back, but still, everybody is in a virtual world, and so I think creative differences are happening more right now because you are not able to physically see each other. So it is going to be a heated discussion, long discussions, and I think this is actually this is the best solution for that, because you have to. I mean, what two ways? I mean, one way is like you said, what does it benefit for the organization? What does it benefit for the vision that the organization has? That is one part. The second part is what is the next alternative. And these two are the best ways to figure out when a creative difference happen. And that's actually pretty cool. I mean, that's actually huge what you just said. So just moving on. So I think you told us like how challenging it was to start an initiative like Spokesmen in the earlier days, right? So, and how did the viewers and subscribers see it? So you said you have almost 12 countries, different people from 12 countries. So how did they see it? How did they see the change? How did they accommodate with the change? And how were they able to view it?
Yeah. So the viewers and subscribers, I think, as I mentioned before, the people see initially when you start something, everybody will look at you with suspicion. That's a given, because people who don't know, people will reject whatever change you bring. So we had to sort of reach out to them and say, okay, this is what. And I'd say that initially, so my initial target was just the people around me. I just wanted the people around me to come and check out what this is and subscribe. So we said, okay, the first 100 people, so the first 50 people who subscribe will get a free brownie in my college. And you won't believe it. The whole our cafeteria was crowded. I counted more than close to 150 or something people lined up to subscribe
Get
and
the brownie.
to get the brownie. So you come up with innovative marketing ways to initially sell it, but eventually the whole thing is how do you sustain this? So first, we got the first point. The second thing is to get back this particular viewer or reader. So then we should offer quality content. So I would say that the subscribers and viewers kept coming back because we were offering good content, and they were there because they got something out of it. People who who I knew who wrote poetry from class 10 and 9 and 7 and 5, never published it, never showed it to anybody. Good literary works which we published. And I think I'm very proud of the fact that those people got the attention they got or the recognition they got. And one of them is now is writing a novel. Another one person is putting all the poems as a compilation and would be out there to publish it. I'm invited for that. So I'm very happy for all these things that are happening because we were able to offer a platform. So viewers and subscribers, I think the Spokesman, the portal is no longer operational because we face a lot of challenges and a lot of issues, which I'll speak after this. So people keep asking me, when is it going to come back up again? When is it going to come back up again? So that shows that the viewers and subscribers liked it, and perhaps in a long-term plan, it would definitely have worked out. So yeah, so I think the viewers and subscribers liked it.
Wow, that's actually nice. I mean, I used to follow it for. I mean, whenever I could just like see and look out for whatever all those content that you guys actually had. And I think basically there are two things for content. I mean, two things that are very important for content. One is consistency. The second one is quality. And consistency compounds, and quality is actually very much equal to consistency. And these two things are what is needed for good content to come out there. And if you have consistency and you have good quality, people are going to look out for you, and people are going to subscribe to you, and people are going to watch out for you. I mean, I guess because mostly I'm a podcast buff because I hear a lot of podcasts these days. So I see a lot of ones coming up, but one of my favorite ones is John Maxwell podcast and Craig Groeschel podcast. And these two are the ones that I follow the most. And I usually wait for these two podcasts to come up. And sometimes John Maxwell, the last one he had was like with Alan Mulally, one of the CEO of Ford and the ex-CEO of Ford and ex-CEO of Boeing. And so is Craig Groeschel. So sometimes he also features other people. And I actually wait for these podcasts to happen because, it actually is inspirational to me. And I don't just follow it because they happen only once a month. Craig Groeschel podcast pops up once a month, and I actually wait for that particular month to see what Craig Groeschel has to say, and so what that particular week John Maxwell has to say, because it is so much inspiration because the content is actually very good. The content is actually good. They maintain a consistency and they maintain the quality, and the content actually plays a very, very huge role in actually in the viewership and in the subscriptions and in your reach. So I believe that, and I mean that's actually huge what you guys did. So moving on, I have this final question towards you, and probably this is going to be a controversial question most of the time, but yes, still I'm going to ask it. So how do you think the quality of information or the quality of news has advanced over the years? I mean, this is a particular question that most people have and most people look onto. So how do you think that the quality of media, or especially news or information, has actually advanced over the years?
Yeah. Well, this is a controversial question because we are living in a post-truth world. So, what I say is that see, from my limited experience, the limited experience that I gained as an editor of online portal, I think that I would say that the quality has consistently gone down, and I think that's a fact. Everybody knows it, but some people don't want to acknowledge that. See, today we always say that we get information from the click of a button, but the question is, what type of information are you getting?
True.
So, what information are you seeking out of a particular subject or a particular topic that is in discussion? What is that you are getting, and what is another person searching the same thing getting from that? In today's world, these two people will be seeing two different perspectives, two different things that perhaps may not be even true. So, how are we fact checking these things? How are we going back now? One of the things that going back, to bang on my experience, we used to tell, I used to tell all my writers and people who are submitting writings, if you when you report on particular topics, particularly news, politics, or any or other piece, I'd say quote references. Okay, you're going to ask a particular person, quote them, or if there is particular something, put references so the person can understand, okay, this is valid information, this is a fact. So we followed this what is it called, 50-50, and sometimes 60-40. 60% is factual report, and then the next, that's for in-house articles, is the person's what do you call it, deduction from that fact. So the person knows, okay, I'm reading now. When you read newspapers, the old newspaper, when you read the first paragraph is the crux of the whole thing, and that'll be the fact. But today it's become more of one-sided agenda pushing mechanism. So in quality of information, I think has substantially been spread out, and it's very hard to find what is good. But because everybody has a particular agenda, you can't. I mean, if you ask me that wasn't it there earlier, it was there. Now in India, I mean, I would say that, see, not just India. I mean, throughout the world, if you see, this is a right wing swing in media, and people are talking a lot about it. But why are people talking about it? Because media for a long period of time has always been left leaning, and there was a vacuum in the right side, and that today, probably a few years ago, was recognized. Okay, this is a major thing. There are a lot of viewers or readers who are out there for this content, but they're silent, and let's just do something there. So today, if you see, a lot of right-wing portals or center-right portals are finding a lot of readers and viewers because they were ignored before. So the quality, because there are a lot of people, it is hard to keep track as to who is doing what, who is fact checking whom, who is out there to kill the other portal. So it's very spread across.
It's become more like a competition rather than truth seeking.
I would say competitions are good, but not at the risk of feeding false information to your readers. Because as you said rightly earlier, the quality of content is supreme when you're doing something like this. But what is the price that I, as an editor, is paying? When my competitor perhaps is going to do, I can't expect my competitor to do the same thing I'm doing. Probably my competitor would go out and say, you know what, they are putting out an article on, suppose, the Indian elections. Let's go one step further and let's say this particular candidate is corrupt. But what fact does that person have against that person? Is there a registered case, or is there a scam? Is there anything related to that? If it's there, let's go all out. But if it's not there, it's insinuation.
No, it's like you should have there are like two types of competition. If you would ask me this, healthy competition and unhealthy competition. And healthy competition is the one that you should promote. And I mean, any organization that comes out, I mean, because even if when Bellwethers was born and when we were taking out all these things, I mean, when I was like planning out stuff, I used to see that there is this particular thing that there's a lot of organizations just like mine. I mean, I'm not the only one. There's going to be some of the known organizations. There's maybe some unknown organization because the world is a huge place with 197 countries and different cultures and different languages. And I'm just one of those. And Bellwethers is just one from those, and that is born from US, and there should be a lot of them from in different places around the world. And how many times do we see that? I mean, there is a lot of times where I could actually say like, okay, there's a competition. I can get back. There's no need for my organization to come out there. But I can also think like that. Okay, there is a healthy competition out there, so I can try, I can strive, I can thrive with my organization, and that is a perspective that most of us are lacking. And when things come up and when issues come up, most of us, I think most of the people around the world will be like, okay, there is already something like that. Why should be there someone like me? And even though some people come up and the competition gets more like it becomes like a race, and who becomes first, who becomes last, and that's how it actually changes.
What I'd say that is that it is a rat race. If you don't run it, you're going to lose. But the question is, how are you going to run it? Am I going to? But see, this is where a lot of people will differ, because when you're out to do business or particularly push something like this is very new. Digital media as a space is new, which is why you find a lot of people there. The question is, eventually it will lead to a bloodbath. And who will survive that bloodbath is the question. Because when something, for example, I suggest, if you say, I'm not comparing media with, say, aviation, but here, take the Indian aviation sector. There was a time when from 2002 onwards, 2008, every year a new airline used to come up here. And that was literally the biggest revolution here in civil aviation, because every year there was a new airline, and new airline was competing and eating into each other. But eventually, all the ones that were not strong fell, and the strong ones continued. Why? Because they were offering better service, they were offering better value for money, and etc. etc. So competition is good, healthy. Unhealthy competition will eat both whoever is competing with you. So the question is, how can you do your product better? How can you push your product in a better manner? Ultimately, it comes down to that, because whoever is going to seek out and come to your product with anything will always look at that. Okay, am I being better off with this? Or am I getting a better satisfaction by subscribing to this? So it will eventually come down to that, but initially it will be at the price of your organization, I would say, because I'm the victim of that. We couldn't. So we ran into funding issues, etc., etc. So we almost were on the verge of signing a deal, but it fell through. And then the other funder, people who were ready to fund were jumping up and down because they had a particular agenda to push, and I just had to subtly agree with that, but I didn't. And eventually, the best thing to do was to shut it down. In hindsight, that made all the difference, because post-COVID economic situation has literally pushed every startup to close, and I did not have any financial liability when we shut Spokesmen.in. So I think everything has a particular reason why it's up there, and I think the best will win, but it depends on how you put out your product. If it's all if it's all just a lot of what do you call it, marketing and nothing under it, it will eventually fizzle out. But if your product is good, if there is a strong commitment and your objectives are clear, people are going to come back, and people will keep coming back to your product, no matter whatever it is. So this is from my experience. I tried, I succeeded, I failed because of other factors, but the price at which you might fail is better, and I feel that you can eventually bounce back up again. So these things matter. I think everybody who's out there to do a change, if you're really serious about it, consider these points, because it might help you.
Wow, that's true wisdom. That's true words of wisdom from P K Mathew, the founder and managing partner of Spokesmen Network, and also the editor-in-chief of Spokesmen.in. So thank you so much, PK. Those words, whatever all these things that you said, I believe that is going to make a difference in everything that you do. Every word that you speak, everything that we do in a platform like this, or in any platform, makes a huge difference to other people. And I hope that this inspires people, to start something like a Spokesmen Network, or something like a portal. It is going to be. We hope that's our vision over here. And whenever we work on a project, and we will be like, I was talking to my team for the first day of our first podcast released, and the day before, I was telling them, it doesn't matter if you get 100 million views or 100,000 views. That's not the point. The point is when you make a difference in some people's lives, and when you do it, and when it actually enables other people to see the vision that they also have in their life, and to maybe start a business, it maybe start a podcast, it maybe start a blog, it maybe start anything. But the vision that they have, it should be there. I mean, encouraging others to come up and do something, start something, and that is the main part, I guess. That is the vision, and I believe that should be the vision, and that should be the part of every organization or every startup or every entrepreneur in this world, because to help promote others, that is actually very, very, very important as well. Not just to thrive or sustain in that current environment, but to help others come up, or actually inspire others, influence others. I think that is very much needed. But again, once again, thank you so much. I think this was a great session with you, and I'm actually happy that you could come over here. And so we believe that this is going to make a difference in other people's lives and other people's vision. So to all those guys who are hearing us, thank you so much for listening once again. This was the Bellwethers podcast with Mathews Joseph and our guest P K Mathew, the founder and managing partner of the Spokesmen Network. So thank you all so much. Yep, sure.
I'll just say one more thing. I like quotes. So there's one thing that I think every entrepreneur sitting out to do must look, because there's one thing that I used to look at, and that's something that President Roosevelt said. I mean, it's a long quote, but I'll just say the last few lines which inspired me the most.
Please.
The quote, it is called "Man in the Arena." I mean, people in the US will definitely know this. It's the end of that is what inspired me, and which is why I am happy and content as a person, even if we failed at that particular venture we're doing to others with it. But the fact that I was able to put my best. And the last part of President Roosevelt's quote is that it goes like this. So, who at best in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those who are cold and timid souls, who neither know victory nor defeat. So I think that's what differentiates you. If you're going to set out to do something, the fact that you're doing, whether it wins or fails, you will be different from those souls who might never taste victory or defeat. And you should be proud of the fact that you tried while daring greatly. So I just leave with that thought.
Yeah, that's actually huge. I mean, I'm also reminded by this particular quote. It says like this: if a man has never failed, then he has never tried something new. And it doesn't. Most people see failure as a negative thing, but I would actually say failure is something positive, because you learn from that, and it's never that bad, or it's not the worst thing, but it is actually something that you need to come up and you need to see, and that's how actually you can grow and grow yourself, outgrow yourself, and outdo the mistakes that you did in the past. But again, once again, thank you so much, P K Mathew, guys. That was P K Mathew, and make sure that you guys go ahead and check him out. I'll be putting some links in the episode description, so you guys can go and check him out. So thank you so much, guys, for listening. So stay tuned for the next episode, as we'll be bringing someone else new next time with a new vision, with a new organization. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for listening.